Hi, in this video, I will show you how to create a serverless API with using AWS Python Lambda functions and using DynamoDB as a backend database and also exposing this particular API with using API Gateway. As you see in this picture, this is just a pictorial overview of my demo where I will be writing writing a Python code which will act as an API code which will serve the CRUD operations for your application. Yeah, and the data will be stored in our Amazon DynamoDB, and the endpoint, in the sense the endpoint of this particular application, that is AWS Lambda based application, uh, will be will be given by the Amazon API Gateway. Yeah, and this API gateway endpoint will be accessed by the user from the internet, or something like that. Yeah, so here I will be using Postman, and I will show you how we can configure this complete entire API application, complete this serverless API, and at the end I will also show you how we can use it from the Postman. Yeah, so with that note, let me directly jump to this demo. So here, to save the time, I have also pre-created the Lambda functions. I created an example DynamoDB table. Yeah, and I also created an API. So if I go back to the API, so I have created the API. I will show you the A to Z configuration that you need to maintain to work this function as expected. Yeah. All right. So now, first of all, let me walk you through the code. So when I say code, in the sense, I have written a code in the form of a Python, with using the Python language, and that code is acting as a kind of a orchestrator, in the sense the complete code which which serves the basic need of an application. For example, create the data, read the data, then update the data and delete the data. Yeah. So generally they will called as a CRUD operations. All right, so this I have written. Okay, so complete CRUD operation is been written in a single Python file, and I will be using this Python file same at at this Python, at this Lambda function. Yeah. All right, anyways, this file will be shared in my GitHub repo, and the GitHub repo link will be shared in this video's descriptions. And also, please don't forget to subscribe my channel as well. Yeah, so with that, now let me walk you through this code, and I will show you the rest part of the demo as well. Yeah, so here I am just using the Boto3 model, and I'm writing a Python code that is used for Lambda purpose. So here importing the Boto3 module, then I'm creating a class. You see class. So here I have chosen an example application. For example, let's say you are running a pet business. Yeah. So in that case, you might need to have an application called Pet Shop. Yeah, where what you do is you maintain a database of all the pets that you maintain in your business, or in your shop, for example. Yeah, so in such cases, you have to have an application which will do the create, read, update and delete operations on the data whichever you need to maintain for your applications. Okay, so in such cases, thinking that in mind, I have written an example CRUD operation application for it. Yeah, so here basically I defined a class called pet shop. Yeah, so in that pet shop, I have defined multiple functions. Let me walk you through these functions, and these functions are being specially made for doing the one job. Yeah, as the name says, these one. Okay, first of all, I have declared a default function called init, which is a generally this function within the class automatically invoked. Okay, because it does not needs any kind of instantiation. Yeah, so that's the reason it gets invoked automatically. So here basically what I'm doing is here here we are setting the client, we are setting the AWS resource client. So here my AWS resource client is DynamoDB. Why? Because if I go to the picture, so here my Lambda is interacting with the DynamoDB. Yeah, and API gateway will be interacting with the Lambda. So internally the communication flows from API gateway to Lambda, Lambda to DynamoDB. Yeah? And all the business operations will be done in the AWS Lambda, and this is the business logic being written in the Python code. So here we are setting the client to DynamoDB, and also after that we are setting a table within the DynamoDB resource, and the table pointing to pets table. So you see my table. Yeah, so this is my pet table, and it contains one primary key called ID. Yeah. All right, so with that note, this is how the init definition has been written. Now hereafter I have the four functions. Okay, we call it as a four pillars of your application. Generally any applications that runs in the world does only these four operations. Okay, nothing apart from this. That's what I can tell you. All right, first of all, let's see how to create the data. In the sense, how to insert a set of data into the DynamoDB. So to do that, we have to write the logic something like this. Okay, here we are doing nothing, we are not doing any magic here, nothing, but we are just adding an arrow into the DynamoDB called pets here. Yeah, and that's the reason I have written a function called create data, and it contains parameters shelf and event. So event is will be used during the API invocations. Okay, so that's the reason Lambda event will be leveraged here for doing the data communication purpose. All right, so then we are using the same same variable, that is self dot table. Self is again keyword in the Python language, and we are using that. And that shelf dot table is nothing but it has the pet table in it. On top of that table, we are invoking API put underscore item, nothing but it will add an item into the DynamoDB table. Okay, and after that here we are passing the items parameters, or I can call it as a the data that you need to fed into the DynamoDB. So those data will be fed here. For example, I need to feed the data called ID, name, breed, gender, owner, and birthday. So for it, that's the reason I said it's a pet shop. In the sense, we are creating we are maintaining a database of a pet related database. Yeah, and this is the syntax that you need to follow to insert a data into the DynamoDB. Yeah? And finally, it will return the, let's say something if there are no errors, then only the runtime will come here into the to the return, and it will send a return type to us. Yeah, which we will see while we invoke this API. So this is how the create data function is been written. Similarly for read data as well. So for read data, I have given the function name called read underscore data. Then it contains self and event as usual. Here only one change is we are using the get item. So here we are leveraging the get item API of the DynamoDB, and where the parameter is key and it contains the primary ID. You see the primary key of my table pet is ID. Okay, that's the reason we are using that to retrieve the data. All right, and finally the response is again checked against if the data is written or not. If it is written, it will return the item. Yeah, nothing but it will return a arrow. Yeah. All right, so that is how the read data happens. And let's go to the update. So update is an often much needed operation that we need to deal with any kind of data. So that's the reason I have also added update data. So for that case, a simple function is being written, that is update underscore data. It contains again same parameter self and events, and underneath we are invoking the API. If you see the API which we are using is update item, whereas the rest all. Okay, so here the client, that is self.table, is remains same again, and this is the API being invoked on the table. And the syntax here, we have to follow certain syntax, and that is what it has been done here. So first one, to update operation. So what is actually the update operations? Update operation is generally it does two things. One is it reads and it also creates. Okay, so that's the reason if you merge these two operations, that is called as a update operation. And that is how database operations been written. First, when you invoke a update item operation, it has to first fetch the data from the table, then it has to update. In the sense, it has to do two things. For that case, first, to fetch the data, we need to retrieve the data with using the key ID, that is a primary key ID, that is ID in my case, and that is what we are passing the key. And after that, expression attribute names, in the sense, the what are the attributes that you need to modify belongs to this record, that is ID equal to something like this. And that is where the syntax has been followed. Okay, you have to follow the same syntax here, nothing magic. So we will just annote hash n equal to my data column name, then hash b equal to my data column name again. So nothing but we are just annotating the data column names. Yeah, and now here also one more parameter called expression attribute values. So this is where what we do is we point it. So in the sense, if it is n here, we have to maintain small n here, and then we have to pass the value. So value will be fed from event. Okay, and that is where the value is being allocated here. Finally, we are doing the expression, update expression. So update expression, as you know, in SQL language it is set. Yeah, so we are doing a set, and then we are mapping the above attribute names and attribute values. Okay, something like this. And finally it returns update new, and that's also okay. It is doing a update operation here. Similarly, we am returning some JSON. So I'm returning a map. I'm returning a hash table in the Python here. Yeah. All right. So that is the update operation. Let me go to the next one, that is delete data. Generally, yes, when you are maintaining a data, so it has to pass through all these life cycles. Okay. First, the data gets generated with using the create method, then the data gets read by using the read method, then the data gets modified with using the update data. Yeah, then the final stage, that is, if you want to vanish the data, that is the delete operation. And this is how we will do the delete operation in the DynamoDB, that is delete underscore item. Yeah, and here the parameters, again we are passing the primary key, that is a ID. Yeah, and finally it returns the status code equal to 200, and it will tell that this item has been deleted. It will return only, okay, so for your kind information, so this operation, if this operation goes successful, then only the flow will come here, or else it will throw the error. And that's the reason I have written a function very generic manner, but in real case you might need to handle the error, exception as well. Yeah, okay, so this is how the function is been written, that is, this is how the class is been written. Now we go into the handler function. So this is a lambda handler function, so it again uses the same in default parameters, that is event and context. Yeah, and here I'm checking if there are any certain events, in the sense if the event contains certain data, then only you perform this. Yeah, so that is what I mean. So yes, definitely the this function has to run when there is a event. Yeah, and here I'm creating a object, so I'm creating an object of my class called pet shop, and we are using this object and invoking the functions being written above. For example, here the peculiar of my application, so here the peculiar of my application is I'm using the single lambda for your case. Okay, and also I'm achieving all the CRUD operations. Okay, that is the peculiarity of my API which I have developed in this demo. Yeah, so here I am using only the post method of the HTTP API, and I'm achieving all the operations like get operation, post operation, patch operation, and the whatever the other methods. Okay, so all the method related tasks will be achieved in this API, and that is how the logic I have written here. So here basically what I'm doing is when I'm passing a body, okay, so here generally I'm using only the post method, and I'm achieving all the required operations of an application. The basic logic here is I'm controlling all the operations of my API by using a keyword in the body called task type. So here the task type, the user who will consume this API has to pass in a keyword called task type, and he has to maintain these keywords. Okay, so saying like he has to maintain the keywords either create, read, update, and delete, and that is how the operation performed even though method is post in this API. Yeah, all right, so here if the event task, okay, I will show you the body here. So for example, if I go to the body, so this is for create operation purpose, so you have to send the body something like this. Okay, here as I said, we are consuming the data, and under the data we are passing all the items that you need to maintain in the DynamoDB. Yeah, and that is where, so if you see for all operations, the create keyword is common, because okay, so this is the keyword will help us to orchestrate across the type of request. It can be create, it can be read, update, and delete. Yeah, so here finally, that's the reason. For example, if user is invoking a create operation with using task type equal to create, here it is a mandatory. Since it is an API, there will be no human errors because you will be hard coding it. Yeah, so that's the reason this will work fine for sure. You can leverage this into the production as well. Okay, so here if it is a task type equal to create, then we are just invoking the create data function with this data. So here I am passing the event data. Yeah, so if I go back to the create body, so this is an example create body, how this is how look it. Yeah, I will be also sharing this this JSON file in my GitHub repo, and the link will be shared in this video's description. Please find there and try to achieve this. Yeah, all right, so this is how this is how we will invoke the create data operation, and the result will be written. Similarly, for other operations like read, update, delete operations, the flow will flow. Okay, and this is how the trick is been done. Okay, so even though I'm using only post method, I'm achieving all the method like get, post, patch, and delete as well. Yeah, all right, and finally, let's say if the if the task type, okay, for example, if you are if there are a human error, and if you are typing something nonsense other than the allowed task type, then it will return like status code equal to 404. That is how the basic application has been written here. All right, so this is the basically code, and if I walk you through the bodies types, so this is for create operation, this is for read operation, and you see the task type is update, so this is for update operation, this is for delete operations. Anyways, this file will be shared and you can use it. Yeah, now let's go back to the console. So now till now I have walked you through the complete part of this AWS Lambda. Now we will see how to set up the Amazon API and DynamoDB. Then we will see a demo of using this one. Yeah. So now first let me go to the Python function. So this is where the Python function I've created. I created a function name called post underscore API underscore pet Python. Yeah. So this is a API which will handle the pet databases. Okay, and the name itself I have given post because I'm leveraging only post method here to achieve all my operations. All right, so and you see the same code is been put in here. Yeah, and the lambda uses, okay, so this is the I just, how did I create a function? Okay, for your information, if you are new to this one, I just went here. I'm using the author from the scratch method. I put on the here the function name. Then I went to the 3.8 version, and in the permission set, okay, so in the permission set I used my admin role. Okay, so here since my admin role is completely has a complete access, that's the reason I'm using it. But in your case, you can find in your role by giving the access to the running the lambda, interacting with the DynamoDB, and interacting with the API gateway. Something in permission, if you give it, that is fair enough for this case. And that is how the lambda is been born here. You see my lambda has been created, something like that. Yeah. Now if I go back to the table, so that is our database side of my application, that is Amazon DynamoDB. So Amazon DynamoDB is, I can say, like, it is a highly recommended database for for the generally for API purpose. Okay, this is very scalable, highly available, secure database, I can say, from the AWS side. So here I went to the DynamoDB page, and I went to the create table. Yeah, I created my table with using a partition key, which is a primary key called ID. And at the end, my table is something like this. Yeah, if I open the table, currently there is no data. So if I can export the database items, okay, so here if I run it, there is no data. The query didn't read anything because it does not has any data. I will show you the data gets inserted once we run some queries. Yeah, so this is my DynamoDB table. You see I'm maintaining across the North Virginia region, and this resource is also sitting in a North Virginia region. Now let's go back to the front end, that is gateway of this serverless API. That is a this is a API gateway which becomes our endpoint. Yeah, that is URL endpoint. So how did I do? I went to the API gateway page. I click on here. Then I choose an you see I choose an API, REST API. I clicked on build. Yeah. Then what I did is I just went and provided the basic input. For example, here REST API, new API, and the endpoint is regional type, and here I have given some dummy name, and that's all. I created the API. Now let me take you to the, once the API has been created, we have to do multiple configurations within the API, which I am going to show you now before I show you the demo. If you open this API, so you have to create a resource called, so if you see, you have to create a resource called pet shop. So if I click on this one, so pet shop, so under the pet shop, you have only one method. That is what we call it. That is what my method is, post method. As I said, I am achieving the every operations of this API with using only post method, and that is the trick I have done in my coding. Yeah. So here what I did is I went to the create method, for example, like this. If I go to the create method, and for example, let me show you for dummy purpose, just like a get method, and then automatically yeah, so automatically when you create a resource, for example, if I create a resource, yeah, so let me create a resource, something like this. Something you can create a resource, something like pet shop, and create a resource. And after the once you created a resource, you create a method. So if you go to the action, create a method, and so when you create a method, generally when you're creating first method, so it will ask you to use the to use your backend application as a lambda. So here you see I am pointing to my lambda. You see the post API lambda has been pointed here. And one more thing I need to tell you at the method. So here you see if I go back again, so there is a method request. So this is there are, so you see, so when you create a post method, the API looks something like this. Okay, so for example, the request comes from here, it reaches to the lambda, and it again the response comes something like this. Okay, that is the reason the arrow has been given here. The changes that we need to make something here is only at the method request level. So here you have to use authorization with using AWS IAM. Then you should use the API request, API key required. Yeah. So why do we need to use the API key required? Yeah. for example case, okay, for your case, for example, um, okay, for example, let me make it as a none, and I will show you the problem that occurs. Okay, so for example, let me save this none, and here since I'm invoking the API outside the internet, and this is from the internet, let me keep the API key equal to true. Yeah, and once you keep the API key required equal to true, for that case, once you in the sense, to authenticate your API gateway, we are using API key required method. There are other methods as well, like like giving the certificate, or using the any other methods. But generally, generally, since this is a API gateway, so generally always it is preferred is API key method is, yeah. So if you are using API key required equal to true, then you must create API key something like this. Okay, for this case, I have created one test API. If I show you here, right, so this is what my key looks in. Anyways, I will be deleting this key after, I will be deleting this API gateway after my demo. Okay, so no need to worry about the my security here. So once you have created a API key, you must set a user plan. So if I go to the user plan, so you should create a user plan something like this. Yeah, so when you create a user plan, you will define the throttling, quota, limit, and all. So these are the API properties, right? So throttling in the sense, you will define at what level the throttling should happen. Quota in the sense, you will be defining the kind of a limit, kind of invocation limit per month. Yeah, so something that you can set up here. Okay, once the user plan is done, what you do is you will add okay, so you will add a API stages here. So here I have added API stages called something like this, and the stage is pointing to prod. Okay, and API key. So if I go to the API keys, and the API key used here is the test API key which I created here. Yeah, and that's all. So once you have successfully configured the API key and usage plan, then what you use is you are set to invoke the resource. Okay, so if I go to the resource back again, so to the stages, so you are set to invoke the stage. Okay, not the resource is something like a common for all the stages. So here I have created a prod. Okay, so for the prod, you see, once the stages are being created, yeah, and this is the URL looks like. So if I go back to the URL, so let me expand this, and we have to choose this. Okay, so here the stage is prod, but we want to use the pet shop. Okay, so if I use this, we want to use the pet shop endpoints. So for that case, I have to copy this URL, and this is what our HTTPS endpoints becomes for our application. Yeah, and that is what I'm using here in the Postman. So if I go to the Postman, so here I have installed the Postman in my laptop, and I copied that API endpoint and place it here. Yeah, and I placed it here, so something like this. Yeah, and in the authorizations, okay, in the authorization, so you have to use for this one, you have to use the signature one. Yeah, so you have to use the authorization equal to signature. So you might have the questions here. I will show you the difference. Why do we need to do it? So why do we need to use this? In the sense, because to authorize this particular, in the sense, to authorize this using this API, somebody, you should have a authorization token, right? And once you have authorization token, and you will be using API keys to use this, to use this post method. Okay, that is what. So authorization and the key will both together will provide a required access to this endpoint, so that it can communicate over Lambda and the DynamoDB. Yeah, and that's the reason. So you should set up your type equal to AWS signature and the request header here, and above there are there is a secret, that is AWS access key and access secret, that has to be put in place, and the reason has to be chosen. Okay, so I will not scroll up because that is where I have stored my keys and all. Yeah, and that is how the header configuration has been done. So here at the header, okay, so that is how the authorization configurations are be done. In the header, you have to use this key called x-API-key, and this is the place where you put in your what I say, your API key. So if I go to the APIs and go here, and if I click on show, so this is what I have put on here, and that is what the X API key becomes. Yeah, and that comes in the authorization in the header part. Next one, in the body part, so this is the body part. I have created four types of operations, right? So one is the create. So let's now see the create one. Yeah, Now we are ready to invoke our operation. So let me first copy the create. So what is the create here doing is we are creating a record in our DynamoDB. For example, there is a business has started and some business, there is a need to add some data into our databases, for example. Yeah. Then what you do is you have to, you have to follow the syntax. That is a kind of, this is the how the, we have to maintain this. Yeah. So here, this is how the format of the data type has to be maintained. It contains a key called task type, where you have to provide only create, read, update, and delete in the following the same keywords. Yeah. And under the data, so data is nothing but the data which we want to feed into the DynamoDB, and it contains these many column number. You see the left side one is the a column name, and right side one is the value name. Yeah. So column and the value. So these are the row data. The right side one is the row data, and the left side is the column data. Yeah. All right, so now let me run this and see if this works, because I have not added the AWS authorization in the API. But for this case, let me run this. Okay, so you have put on and you have to choose the body equal to ra. Yeah, let's run this and see how does it behaves. All right, you see here it has successfully added. So that is what I was telling. So here we have authorized it with using the with using AWS secret and access key idea, and that's the reason it successfully it successfully added this data in our databases. Yeah. So let's see if the database has been some data has been added here. So if I refresh it here you go, bingo. Yeah. So in the sense the data has been successfully added into my database. So if I show in the figure, we are here now from the user end. Okay, so end user, nothing but Postman. So Postman is an end user, and there we authorized this API gateway. We provided the API key to do the operation called create, and it has successfully created a record into the DynamoDB. Yeah, and that is the reason we see database now. We see the data here. Now let's go to the next operation, that is a read operations. To create a read operation, you just have to follow this same syntax. Okay. Yeah, so you just copy the same body and put it in our Postman's body here. So what I do is I do a select all, control V. Yeah, I put it across. Now let's see, okay, if it does reads that operation. Here you go. Right, it has successfully reads the data, and right, you see the owner is here Trump, and the breed is Joe, and the name is Putin. Yeah, so Putin is making very nice, right? So that's the reason I have added Putin. And then the gender is something male, and then you have the birthday. Yeah. All right, so this is just a dummy data I have provided for your use case. Okay, I'm not trying to teach somebody. Yeah. All right, so that is the yeah, so that is how we did a read operation here. Okay, so now we go to the next operation called update. For example, you want to update the name. So here name is Putin. You want to update that Putin to Harry. How do we do? So we can do this with using the task type equal to update. Let me go back to the again API here, and let me replace this. Okay, so and let me run this. So here you might have noticed here, for every operation I'm just using the post method. Okay, that is the peculiarity of my API which I have designed here. Yeah, I'm not switching any operations. I'm just sticking to one method called post, and I'm performing all the get, post, patch, and everything operations. Okay, with using the same method. All right, so now let me update this and let's see how does it looks. It says that one record is updated. So let me go back to the record. Right now it is put in. We should see name changed. Here you go, name is changed to Harry. Yeah, so it is working now. That's all we have done with the update operation. Now let's delete it. Okay, so this is a clean operation that I'm doing now. Let's clean up the put in everything. Yeah, so let me copy this data, and what I do is I do a select all and I will paste this data. Now what I'm doing is I'm not switching the so you might have seen like why he's not switching when you're doing the delete operation. No, because that's how I have written my function to use single method and perform all the CRUD operations. Yeah. All right, so let me do it. Here you go. It has deleted an item from here. Okay, so for example, if I refresh it, there is no data. It has cleaned up that data. Yeah. All right, so that is how that is how I have shown you the CRUD operation, like a create, right? So here I have shown you the create, read, delete, update operations. All operations have been shown in this serverless API, this example API. All right. Okay, so finally let me show you when there is no data. Let's say for example, if you are typing some nonsense, not allowed task type, for example. Yeah. So then when you run this request, it will throw not found. In the sense, this operation, this task type is not found. If you are deleting again, so generally it will just tell like a delete because it's already deleted. So it will throw the, it has deleted. Yeah. All right. So I have successfully shown you the things to be shown in this video. Anyways, I will be sharing the the Python file and also this JSON file in my GitHub repo, and the GitHub repo link will be shared in this video's description. Please find there and try to achieve this a very peculiar API which has been written with you to use only one method but to perform all the CRUD operations. Okay. So finally, that's all for now. Thank you very much for watching my videos. Kind request, please do subscribe my channel. That would really encourage me a lot. So with that note, thank you. Thanks a lot.